Welcome back to the channel for week 2 of my Longsword Zero to Fatalis series. If you're new here, I'm the Moga Village Marauder, and this is the second video in a series, so you should probably go watch the first video, then come back to watch this one, and subscribe for the next while you're at it. This week, my goal was to complete high rank and some of the optional quests. So without further ado, I've just started high rank and need some new gear. For my weapon, I'll grab the Iron Grace 3. The Ortree is going to be our go-to option for weapons for the near future, as its progression is directly tied to mining, and it boasts solid stats all around, with good sharpness to boot. For my armor, I'm building the Bone Helm Beta for health boost in a deco slot, Bone Mail Alpha for attack boost, and Alloy Gloves Alpha and Alloy Greaves Beta for speed sharpening in another slot. For now, I left my coil as the low-rank Luma coil, but one of the high-rank Luma coils would be a direct upgrade. To make all this new gear, I needed new high-rank exclusive ores and bones. I got all the bones I needed from the initial high-rank expedition / Pookie hunt, but I have none of the Carbolite ore I needed, and that means mining. Lots and lots of mining. With gear made, it's time to hunt. After some investigating, of course. After Pookie, our second high-rank monster is Anjanath. Anjanath should be a pretty familiar fight by now, but this one is faster, tougher, and hits harder. Get used to it. High rank makes every fight just a little bit more difficult. After Anjanath is Pink Rathian. This is one of the first real filters of Monster Hunter World. This is where you'll really start feeling it, if the Defender and Guardian equipment have allowed you to cultivate a sloppy playstyle. Pink Rathian is like regular Rathian, but with a hardened tail and a few new moves. Approach carelessly and you'll get smacked. Play safe and exploit the end lag on all its attacks, and you'll be done in no time. Beating Pink Rathian unlocks the Elder's Recess, the final area of the base game. Meet the locals, find some spines stuck in the ground, and do some mining. When you're done, you should have the materials to upgrade your sword to the Iron Gospel 1. Additionally, you should have access to the Nergigante hunt. I went into the Nergigante fight without upgrading my gear. That said, there are some very high quality gear available before the Nergigante fight, which can make things a bit easier. Before I give any builds though, I'd like to break down what goes into a good build in my opinion. I like to split skills into these categories. The most important category to have sorted is basic survivability. These are skills that make it passively easier to stay alive. There are a number of skills in this category, but we want to focus on only the two most efficient ones, Health Boost and/or Divine Blessing. Numerically, Health Boost is the stronger of the two skills by a slim margin, but there are scenarios where Divine Blessing is stronger, and they can work in tandem. The next category is Sharpness Management. This can be covered by a number of different things. In low rank, I prioritized handling this by choosing weapons with lots of green sharpness. However, at our state, we don't really have access to weapons with plenty of blue sharpness, so we're going to need some solutions here. Our first option is 3 points of speed sharpening. This will allow you to sharpen fairly safely mid-fight. Our second option is Handicraft. This skill extends the length of your sharpness bar and may open up a new level of sharpness. Protective Polish, provided by Odogaran armor, will prevent your weapon from losing sharpness for 60 seconds after sharpening, and will typically come with level 3 speed sharpening. Mind's Eye, provided by Rathalos armor, will prevent your weapon from bouncing, diminishing the downsides of losing sharpness. As long as you grab some form of sharpness management, you should be fine. Though a solution that allows you to maintain the highest possible level of sharpness is preferable, as sharper weapons just do more damage. After sharpness and survivability are handled, you can start layering on damage. Alternatively, you can jump down to some of the more playstyle or build-specific skills, as they are just as strong, just not as all-purpose. If you can though, try to get Weakness Exploit and Critical Boost, as they provide truly colossal increases to your damage output. Specific damage skills don't fit into every build, but in some cases can be even more powerful than general damage skills. They usually require other skills to work, or a specific type of weapon. Playstyle dependent skills either require or enable you to play in a different way. For example, Evade Window increases the invincibility frames on dodge rolling, allowing you to iframe through many attacks that would normally be too difficult to avoid consistently. These can be pretty hit or miss depending on the hunter, so try them out before committing to having them in your build. Convenience skills aren't as make or break as playstyle dependence, and will usually give you some value no matter what, but they still mostly come down to taste. Niche damage skills are similar to specific damage skills, but either require much more investment to utilize, or are only occasionally active. They're still positive skills, but their strength is limited. Niche survivability skills are skills that shouldn't go in your build unless you are fighting a monster that deals a specific damage type, ailment, or scenario where you might need their effect. Everything else is either literally useless on Longsword or provides no real benefit in combat. Please note that this list doesn't cover every skill in the game, is specific to Longsword, and is really just my opinion. With that in mind, I have two primary recommendations for pre-Nergigante builds. The first is an all-purpose Rathalos set. Use the Rathalos Helm Beta, Rathalos Mail Beta, Rathalos Boots Alpha, and your choice of one more Rathalos or Azure Rathalos piece, as well as any other piece of gear. I used the Wrath Soul Coil Beta for the slots, and the Ingot Vambraces Beta for health boost. If you get an extra Rathalos Ruby while grinding, consider swapping to a Wrath Soul Helm for crit boost instead of attack boost. This set mitigates the downside of sharpness loss through Mind's Eye, meaning you just keep fighting until the monster leaves, then sharpen to get back to peak damage. In addition, this set packs level 3 weakness exploit for chunky damage. The second set I recommend is an Odogaron set. Use the Odogaron Mail Beta, Odogaron Coil Alpha or Odogaron Coil Beta, and your choice of 2 other Odogaron armor pieces and 1 free piece. I recommend making sure you get level 3 speed sharpening, as you will occasionally need to sharpen mid-combat, and waiting for 2 sharpen cycles is just no fun. If you run this set, make sure you sharpen before entering combat each time. It can be strange to get used to, but watching Tenderize do nothing to your sharpness bar is a great feeling. This set doesn't bring quite as much raw power as the Rathalos set, but over the course of a long fight, the benefit of maintaining higher sharpness should more than make up for the loss in crit chance. For Nergigante himself, the fight is actually pretty simple and not too tricky. I actually ran Nergigante before upgrading my gear at all, because I was convinced that the reason I couldn't see the Rathalos hunt was that it was locked until I beat Nerge, and I didn't want to make Odogaron armor and then immediately swap to Rathalos. Nergigante fights a lot like a Diablos Odogaron hybrid. Stay out of his way or prepare to counter when he charges, or really does anything, and don't be afraid to put your weapon away and dive. After Nergigante, you unlock quite a few pieces of very nice gear. For armor, the Nergigante and Dober sets become available, both of which are packed with high-value skills like Attack Boost and Agitator. Some hunters swear by Nergigante's set bonus, but I'm honestly not convinced. It provides roughly the equivalent of a late-game health recovery weapon augment from what I've seen, which is nice, but in no way equivalent to Mind's Eye or Protective Polish, much less the newly available Master's Touch bonus from Teostra armor. Overall, while the new armor sets are powerful, I can't really recommend going for them, as high rank is almost over, and master rank invalidates all but the very best high rank has to offer. This did not stop me from throwing hours of my time away, farming out that Rathalos set I could have gotten before Nergigante. It took me hours to get 1 ruby. For weapons, however, the newly available options are just too juicy to pass up. The Nergigante tree offers solid raw and good sharpness. Uragon has even better raw and sharpness, but a negative 10% affinity. Anjanath has worse sharpness and negative 20% affinity, but even more raw. Deviljho has minus 25% affinity, but almost 100 points of raw up on its competition, making it my personal choice. I would overall recommend the Uragon or Nergigante weapons instead, as Deviljho is a bit of a pain to farm. Around this time, I called in my first assist, a good friend and hunting buddy, Dirt Disturber. He helped me put down some pickles in preparation for what was soon to come. First on the Elder Dragon list was Kushala Daora, not because I liked the fight, wanted the armor or the weapons, but because grinding in the Ancient Forest for several hours had gotten me all the traces I need to challenge the Dragon of Steel. Kushala is not a great fight. Most of the time you're going to be waiting for it to leave its tornadoes so you can attack it. You better hope you brought flash pods too, because Kushala doesn't really like to hang out on the ground too much, and Longsword isn't quite long enough to pierce the skies. After Kushala and a bit of investigating, I'm on to Teostra. This manticore-looking dragon is constantly shrouded in flames, causing hunters to take damage if they stand too close. This is one of those things you just have to tank. Hypothetically, you can disable the effect with a dragon-type weapon, but on Longsword, this means walking right into the flames to hit Teostra. In spite of this, Teostra is actually a very fun and engaging fight. It moves fast, attacks ferociously, but its most lethal attacks have long windups and leave Teostra vulnerable to attacks from other directions. If, however, Teostra starts flying upwards slowly, it's preparing to unleash its Supernova, a massive attack that deals tons of damage. Put your weapon away and run, or show your buddies how cool you are by countering it with Foresight Slash, or one of your other Spirit Sheath attacks. Once Teostra is down, it's time for Vaal Hazak, one of the most interesting Elder Dragon designs in my opinion, though its mechanics can be a bit agitating at times. Getting hit by any of Vaal Hazak's Effluvium attacks will trigger a new status called Effluvium Buildup. This status slowly deals damage to your health, but more importantly, cuts your maximum health total in half. In essence, getting hit by an Effluvium attack is going to cost you 1 Nullberry and 2 Mega Potions to recover from. This is balanced out by Vaal Hazak being far slower and weaker than the other Elder Dragons we've fought so far, with its non-Effluvium attacks doing about half the damage the other Elders would do on bites and swipes. Overall, Hazak is probably the easiest of the 3 Elders. After the 3 Elders have been defeated, we're invited to go on a fun boat ride with the Admiral and the First Fleet Wyverian guy. We spot a weird crystal egg which turns out to be a primitive form of Disco Ball. The Admiral takes the Wyverian to get help, and we fight the Disco King, Xeno-Jiiva. Normally, this is the part of the video where I'd let the cutscene play, maybe give some general advice, and outline my plans for next week. But this isn't where my progress ended this week, so I'm just gonna keep going. Just like high rank before it, Master Rank takes the power level to new heights. This means that all but the best high rank gear is now useless. If we really wanted to use high rank gear though, we could go and grind out the Draken armor set from the Final Fantasy crossover event and use that, but I wouldn't recommend it. As of this point, I had not tried out Quicksheath, despite knowing its popularity among Longsword players, so now was a good chance to give it a shot. I ran Vespoid Helm Beta for Quicksheath and slots, Bone Mail Alpha for attack boost and health boost, Bonbaro Gloves to cap my health boost, Hornitar Coil for weakness exploit, Alloy Greaves for speed sharpening, and a Sheath Charm too to cap my Quicksheath. To top it all off, I chose the Iron Eschaton as my weapon of choice. Once again, I did not have all the necessary parts to forge my equipment, with ore being my primary shortcoming. Additionally, I wanted to test the viability of using Steamworks before the Guiding Lands, so I built a simple mining set with maxed out Geologist, Master Gatherer, and Forager's Luck, then left for the Coral Highlands to mine. The results were okay. I got the ore I needed and 720 fuel in 20 minutes of mining. I expected to get much more fuel, however, as the wiki was telling me that I should be able to mine out Dragonvein coal, but I was instead getting Dragonvein shards, which are only worth a fifth of the fuel. However, the 720 I got was enough to get me my daily Celestial Wyverian print, so I can't really complain. And at the end of the day, the Appreciation of Fest just ended, so I wouldn't be getting melding tickets anyways. On that note, I considered just building the Astral Armor set and not worrying about upgrades for the duration of Mastering, but that felt a bit like cheating, so I decided not to. Early fights in Master Rank consist of a few new monsters and an equal number of dangerous new subspecies to monsters we've already seen. I highly recommend updating your item loadouts at this point to include Mega Demon Drug, Mega Armor Skin, Sushi Fish Scales or Astera Jerky, Herbal Medicine, Max Potions, and, if you're hunting with buddies, Dust of Life, in addition to all other normal necessities. As you make your way through Master Rank, you may find yourself wanting a new armor set, and there are lots of good candidates even before you get to Velkhana. Here are some of my recommendations for armor sets to build around. Odogaron armor gives protective polish, but only takes 3 pieces this time. Rathalos armor gives Mind's Eye, but again, only takes 3 pieces this time. Nargacuga armor gives True Razor Sharp, greatly reducing sharpness loss. Galavinus armor gives Maximum Might Secret, raising the maximum might level cap to 5, providing 40% affinity as long as you are at maximum stamina. Brachydios armor gives Agitator Secret, raising the Agitator level cap to 7 for tons of extra damage and affinity against enraged monsters. And finally, Barioth armor provides Brutal Draw at just 2 pieces, allowing you to deal massive stun damage on draw attacks, and pair the set bonus with another armor set. For weapons, I personally recommend just sticking with the ore tree for most of Master Rank. Any of these sets should be plenty strong to take down Velkhana. However, Velkhana's fight is not the easiest. Velkhana likes to utilize its superior range and speed to leave hunters in the dust, all the while building walls of ice to block the hunter's advance. Velkhana will take good timing and positioning to take down. Defeating Velkhana opens the door for you to fight Master Rank Elder Dragons. meaning Master Rank Elder Dragon armor. Of these new options, there are a couple standouts. Wearing 4 pieces of Velkhana armor activates Frostcraft, a powerful damage bonus that depletes as you attack and recharges while your weapon is sheathed, and yes, Spirit Sheath counts. 3 pieces of Teostra armor will provide Master's Touch, preventing your weapon from losing sharpness whenever you land a crit. These pieces are not only strong now, but will continue to be viable, and arguably best in slot, up through Fatalis. With gear sorted, it's on to the last 5 hunts of the week. Before the Elders, we have to fight seething Betelgeuse. That said, there's not a lot to talk about here. It's Basil but Master Rank. First on the Master Rank Elder Dragon list, Black Veil Vaal Hazak. I hate Black Veil Vaal Hazak. Black Veil Vaal Hazak is like regular Vaal Hazak, but with bad gas, the ability to turn the ground into effluvium infection sites, and the ability to kill you, no matter where you are, as long as you have effluvium buildup. To put into context just how much effluvium this dragon inflicts, by 5 minutes into the hunt, I had already eaten 5 of the max 10 nullberries you can bring. If you can get level 3 effluvium resistance for this fight, do it. It deactivates everything this monster does, and for once I think that's a good thing. Next is Namielle, one of my favorite hunts in the game. Namielle's attacks create pools of water all over the ground that you need to pay attention to, as Namielle can use them to temporarily ensnare hunters, or electrify them to cause them to explode. On top of this, Namielle's theme is just an absolute bop, so I'm just gonna let it play for a bit. Second to last is a short bout with Ruiner Nergigante, where it does less damage, has less health, and doesn't actually drop Ruiner Nergigante parts. In spite of this, it can still be a challenging hunt. Just like normal Nergigante, it fights a lot like a Diablo Sodagar hybrid, but now its spikes inflict bleed, and it has some new moves, including a cool fake out, where it pretends to be knocked out before launching a brutal smackdown. Keep wearing it down while focusing on staying alive, and you should finish soon enough. Don't worry if it takes you a few attempts, though. It is difficult. Last on the list is the old Everworm, Shara Ishvalda. This is a two-phase fight. You start by chipping away at the rocks on the chest and face of this massive behemoth. And if you've gotten this far without learning how to use the Clutch Claw, now is the time. Shara Ishvalda is so hard that no matter your weapon's sharpness, you will bounce if you don't first tenderize. Additionally, you're going to want that Slinger ammo that dropped from tenderizing to flinch shot Shara into the walls for massive damage. Once you've done enough, Shara will shed its rocky shell, and the real fight starts. Ignore what Dirt Disturber and I are doing here. You can't sever its tail. If you want to focus on a part break, go for the head. Phase 2 Shara Ishvalda is by far the most lethal foe we've faced yet. Its wing-fingered things shoot pressurized air out like lasers for massive damage, and its bites and slaps aren't exactly weak. When Shara turns pockets of ground into stand, stay out of them. They'll periodically explode. A few times throughout the fight, Shara Ishvalda will burrow to the edge of the arena before creating a massive swirling ball of wind. Get to the edges of the circle and prepare to dive just in case you aren't quite far enough away. After 10 to 20 minutes of keeping the hurt on, Shara Ishvalda falls, and we've completed Master Rank. Once again, if you've made it this far into the video, thanks. Consider liking the video and subscribing for future updates. Since last video, I've done some research, and it doesn't seem like Ruiner is a particularly reasonable goal for this next week, with most accounts saying it takes upwards of 80 hours to hit MR 100 after the main game. Obviously, I'll do what I can, but I am only human. Either way, I'm planning to temporarily skip the Ruiner gear while I focus on other goals, like Raging Braggy, and maybe even nabbing some Kiar equipment while Cold is available. In any case, I'll see you next week. Music is linked in the description.